Kayla Subica. Welcome to the Portuguese Collective Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me here.
You're welcome. You are my first guest on this new rebrand and venture. And I told you the reason why I really wanted you to be my first guest is because anytime that I speak to you, you're such a light. You're so positive, and I think it's the perfect tone to set for the rest of the guests. Let's keep the positivity going.
That's it. I'm so proud of you and so excited for this new venture. And I'm really grateful that we've connected. And I
Absolutely.
always want to be here in your corner
Thank
to
you.
be positive because as creatives, we need that.
Yes, we do. And Kayla's always like trying to give me like these high fives and pats on the back. And we're both trying to do that for each other. And that's kind of the beautiful thing that's come from this podcast world is reaching out to the community and actually becoming friends. Cause like we were just saying before we started recording, you're my friend now. Like I consider your friend. We send voice notes all the time and catch one another up. So Kayla is from Canada and we met because of the Portuguese world, basically.
Yep. Somebody posted you somewhere and then I went and I looked at your page and then I followed you immediately because of the videos that you were sharing. Like I could pick up on your personality. And yeah, you do give that friend energy.
I don't like being alone. I think that's a little bit of maybe the toxic trait in me is that I have a hard time with quiet and being alone. And I get a lot of energy off of other people. So it's like addicting in a way. But that's my way of becoming your friend, connecting. I'm just a deep person like that. And if I don't find what like has made you you, then like what is that friendship, right? It just feels like so unauthentic if we're not kind of divulging a little bit of our hard triumphs and stuff. So that's kind of where all this mumble jumble lives, I guess.
That's so beautiful. We need people like you. Keep asking.
No, we need people like you. How do you have that like radiant, vibrant energy? Let me circle back. First of all, Kayla's a performer in her own right. Kayla has created her own lane, and this is just me speaking in my own personal opinion about you. I first kind of realized what you do in layers. So first for me, I thought it was just comedy. I thought
Mm.
you were in just the comedy world. And then I started kind of picking up on your acts and your performances, and there was a whole nother layer of like tarot readings, and then you're singing. And I'm like, wait, you sing too? So can you somehow form somewhat of a description of what it is that you do in the entertainment world?
Yeah, absolutely. It's so funny because for me, like singing was the beginning of all of it. And I think it's the most vulnerable thing that I do. And so it's the thing I've stepped out with last
Yeah.
because it meant more to me than any of the other things that I do. But they all bring me joy. So basically I am an actor, a writer, a singer. I'm also a medium. I have been reading tarot for well over 15 years, and I've been studying mediumship for the last 3 years, probably years before that without even knowing. And I've decided to bring all of these parts of me to the forefront and create a show called Happy Medium. And that show is an interactive musical comedy where I am playing this New Yorker from 1970s Manhattan, and I am reading tarot live for the audience, but I'm singing the readings. So there's like some stand up comedy involved. There's a lot of improvisation involved. It's also scripted, and the audience goes on this really fun sing along experience. Yeah, I think it's incredible that I've allowed myself to do this and to play at this level so that I can be seen
Yeah, I
in
think
all
so
the
many
ways.
times in the entertainment world, they're like, find your niche, find your niche, find your niche. And
Yes.
you're and it's like, but there's more than one niche, you know? And you've been able to kind of maximize on that, which is really cool and fun.
Yeah, find your niche. It kind of reminds me of, me coming out of theater school being like, I want to play every part. And them being like, no, like that's not going to land you any part. And me just not wanting to only be one type or one thing. So I think for those of us who do not want to find our niche, we create, our own way. We create our own lanes so that we don't have to fit into somebody else's niche. Yeah.
There's no molds for Kayla, that's for sure. I love that about you so much. So let's go back to little Kayla. Were you born and raised in Canada?
Yeah. I was born in Toronto. I was raised in Mississauga. My family's Portuguese. Grandparents brought my parents over from San Miguel on both sides. And they both grew up in Little Portugal. And I grew up loving going to my grandma's in Little Portugal. I was one of the younger cousins. I just feel like I was in the right birth order to be treated just so kindly, so sweetly, with such
I love
care. And I still feel the same way. I'm like, I'm so fucking lucky I was born like, at this wedge in my family where I feel like the cousins had to be like more endearing to me because there's more of that, space of age between us, or you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we weren't really toe to toe. It was more like this dynamic of like big and little. And
Yeah, that's my baby cousin.
exact, it's my baby cousin. So I'm just in this really great spot in my family, and I have a lot of love for my family and my big family, and all of my sweet cousins.
That's amazing. Well, traditionally, I think we grow up in this Catholic religion, right? So how has this mediumship evolved with your Portuguese family? I have to ask. Even though deeply I'm like, we're all a little bit, witchy, especially in
Oh,
Portugal.
absolutely. Oh man, and I'm kind of realizing too that it's really helped me to grow up being like, so my mom's the youngest on her side, and just by some space here, and just being a little bit more disconnected from what was like traditional and what was expected, and also having my grandparents be like a half hour drive away also helped with what my cousins are picking up who live around the corner versus what I'm picking up living in Mississauga, which is like multicultural, different religions, a lot of different backgrounds. So I just grew up more open and with
Diverse.
less conditioning. Also, I've just done a lot of work around protecting my own beliefs and either like not getting into it with other people, letting people believe what they want. Yeah, I think that's it
I
at
feel
the end of
like
the
you
day.
let so much bounce off of you. Like you
I
don't let it
have to.
stick to. You let so much just bounce right off. That's why I'm like, I wish I could have like you have this thing about you that like I when I picture you, it's always like light and smiling and kind of just pushing like every
Yeah.
negativity away and you kind of not in a bad way, just like shoo shoo, please please.
Well, I've fought so hard to be this strong. I was like an absolute bleeding heart. I still can be, but I was just so open emotionally and really, really wanted to like take care and be perfect. Like was like the ultimate, people pleaser, but I also like had my own back. But what I wanted is I wanted everyone to agree with what I wanted for my own life,
Yeah.
which is not possible. And I would take it personally when I did not have the support of people that I loved, or the belief in me or the faith in me. I was externalizing all of that. And I've been in therapy on and off for like a decade. And before that, before that, I would do Reiki sessions. Like I would go for Reiki healing. And I think also being drawn into that psychic world is like having someone else see the vision that I have for me and believe it too, without me having to verbalize what that vision is and without me having to convince and beg them to see it.
Yeah.
So I think that was like a natural draw for me too into the psychic world. Like before therapy, there was Reiki. And before I believed in myself, I had other mediums and psychics who could say, hey, like, you've got a great voice. I'm like, I do. Right. Without them having to hear me sing, or, hey, like, I see you on stage. I'm like, that's what I want. So they could see it with me. And I think that was a big part of my support system.
You started off young performing, right? You said you went to
Yeah.
theater.
Yeah. Like my neighbor had me sing when I was like, I don't know, 3 or something in front of a large crowd. And like, I loved it. It felt so natural. It was my everything. And then from there, I wanted to be a singer. And I think just different times, different beliefs, those who are raising me, just, it's a lot of shine. It's a lot of spotlight. And I think there's a belief that, we're definitely meant to stay grounded, but maybe humble too. In order to claim my voice, I've had to be like, I'm good enough and think that I'm good. I had to think that way. Otherwise, I can't get the fuck up on stage. If I think I'm shit, if I think whatever, I'm not going to get up there. And so I think that that belief is something I cultivated for myself. And it's not something that, comes natural,
Yeah.
maybe
Well,
to
that sucks,
most
right? That
people,
those
or
things.
maybe also
No, I don't think that's
to our
something that comes
culture. Like,
naturally, though.
no, no, no.
No. To believe in yourself and all that, I don't know why, but I don't think it's as natural as like, just believe in yourself or no one else will, you
The
know?
truth
But
is,
it is very
it's fucking
simple of
hard.
yeah, it is true. It actually is. Confidence. I remember like when I would teach hair classes and I'm very short and my boss would tell me like you have to wear heels when you go into a class and teach because you're so short. If you wear heels, it demands like confidence and stature, and it's a little bit of an illusion. And I have
Right.
to tell you, it does something to your confidence. So just small little things like that, like trigger the way that you walk into a room and how you're perceived and all of that. So it really is like you do have to believe in yourself because it does make a big difference to how you're being perceived.
Totally. And I think the thing behind belief for me is practice. I come off as very easygoing, but when I get into rehearsal, I'm fucking ready. I'm ready for hours. I'm ready to be there. I will be tired. I will do whatever, but I will show up so that on the day I can be carefree. Like on a day that I'm performing, I will stay in bed till like 2 and I will read and I will text and I will laugh and I will relax. Then I'll
Yes.
take like a long shower and I'll do my hair and I'll take my time. And because I feel so prepared to meet the moment. And again, that's something that only I can give myself, that only I can take seriously for me. That other people I know expect me to be playful or jokey or whatever about my time and my priorities because I come off that way often and I love to be around people and I love to joke. But when it comes to my work, I am dead fucking serious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't mess with her because she still has a she's still very tough. So
It's
don't let
me
her
versus
come up all
me, but
sweet and
yeah, I
not
mean, we all
protective
have
of
all
herself.
sides, but I'm definitely not super easy on me. I'm definitely like,
Yeah.
girl, you need to do this and you need to do this 100 times before you get
Maybe
up
that's a
there.
Gemini thing because I told the guys in my band, I'm like, if I'm ever falling apart, like if I'm ever like if I'm ever like, I can't do this and oh my God, like the world hates me, you need to be like, you get your
Exactly.
shit together right now. Like I am really good with that bullying. Like I don't know what it is, and I'm like, yeah, like build me up, hype me up. I'm like, you guys better curse at me. You better tell me how it is. Like I need it hard.
Yeah, you need something strong, somebody strong. Like there has to be strength
Yeah.
in what you're doing. And it really is like, how would you big up your best friend? How would you?
Exactly. That's exactly how I would want my friends to talk to me.
And also, like, your friends, your closest friends have, had your back for so long. And in a sense, when you do it for yourself, you're helping them too because they want to see you succeed.
Yeah.
I've had friends who have, like, I remember one of my
Have
good
to
friends,
put it in
she,
perspective. Like you've been at this for so long. Look out
yeah,
in the crowd. Is there anyone here that can do what you're doing? I don't think so. You're the only one the best at this thing that you're doing. So just give it to us, you know?
right, right.
Oh, I can't wait to see you perform. We tried to get Kayla out here for Ringas of Comedy. It just didn't work out with, coast to coast and being in Canada. There are so many different things that have to be done when traveling back and forth. Yeah, I know that you have plans to come back to California, and whenever or whatever that is, I want to help promote it or whatever it may be and get a bunch of us over there.
Mm. Yeah, it looks like this is the year. I'm meant to get some good news in the next couple of months and then should be all green lights.
Yes. Okay, so do you have more than one show happening right now?
So I'm touring with Happy Medium. I'm going to the Edinburgh Fringe. This will be my second time going with this specific show. I'm doing 22 performances there of this show. I also have another show that has Portuguese content.
Nice.
It's called Everyone's a Puta, even your grandma.
True.
So You
You
know,
say it so nice too. You're like, "It's called Everyone's a Puta."
even your grandma is the second part of it. And so I took that show to New York, and I remember going to Newark, New Jersey to Little Portugal there with my flyers. We went for lunch. I was handing out my flyers, and one of the servers at this restaurant was so offended. I come around the corner and he's dumping like a pile of my flyers into the trash. And I'm like, hey. And he looks over at me. It's the same girl as the poster. And he's like, oh, hi. I was like, my love, it's a comedy. I don't mean to like offend anybody. He's like, oh, I know, I know. I was like, you know, everyone is a puta. It's like, me too. Maybe you too. But there again, there's all these shades to us. That show is about, you know, the true story of me trying to find my estranged grandmother. With over 20 years of separation between us, and you know, there was a falling out in my family, and I wanted to reconnect with her, and I thought that I could heal my family. And it turns out that I met her, and you know, things just seemed one way, but were not. And she, you know, it was an experience I really needed to go through. And funnily enough, she is the one in my lineage who was really involved with like mediums, but in a manipulative way. And so then I come out years later and I tell my dad that, like, you know, I'm starting to read for people and it really triggers him. And like, I understand it because of his history with her and, you know, she would drag him to mediums and just be very manipulative with his life and all these things based on that. But I just find it all so ironic that here I am. For a long time, I called myself uplifting tarot because my whole goal with the readings was to just connect people to like the version of themselves that they know they are without that external pressure and bullshit, to uplift people, you know, not fully understanding. And this is before knowing about like my grandma and all that stuff, right? So it's just
Okay.
funny, like the karma that we sometimes come here to live out and the
But maybe you
corrections.
did heal that, right?
I think so. I mean, my dad, I would say, is a lot more open to these messages now. And actually, a lot more of my family members who used to be like, this is fucking okay. Now they've gone to mediums. And so I've normalized it as much as one can, you know, but I find it extremely healing. And I think that that's a big driver in everything that I'm doing. I like the show, like, you know, everyone's a puta. For me, that's extremely healing too. I think for other people have come up to me and said, you know, I've had so much estrangement in my family. I was like crying. I feel so seen. I feel better. And, you know, Happy Medium deals a lot with grief and giving ourselves the permission to try again and again and again and again and start fresh. And so that I find that to be healing for others as well.
I feel like, I mean, every family has problems, but I think in our Portuguese culture, it's always like, shh, make it look perfect on the outside, make it look perfect on the outside. And you
Yeah.
wanted to get back to that in a way. Like, let's
Yeah.
make it look good again. Like,
Yeah.
you
But
probably thought it was just a conversation away and a misunderstanding away to like healing your own family. You're like, no, actually, some people are just a little.
I've never dealt with this type of shit in my life. Like I was like, you know, my grandma has since come through, all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's so fascinating to have this be so normal for me to be like,
You feel
yeah,
like
like
that's where the comedy stems with it, where it's like, if I put a laughter behind it, people won't take it so seriously to then turn it into something so negative, like this is too much or something.
I think actually the laughter allows me to go deeper and darker. And I think the laughter is us all laughing at our own lived experiences and healing and knowing that we're not alone. I think it helps to lighten us. No matter what we're laughing at, it shifts. It shifts our energy, it shifts our mood, our perspective. We feel lighter, we feel better. So I feel like it's necessary. And I feel like, you know, it's hard to say. I want to say, especially right now, but I mean, I think I've been saying especially right now for a long fucking time, right? But I just do feel like it's important and it's important now. And I think comedy is important now. And I think us going out to just like enjoy something is important now. I
Mhm.
just feel like we're all a little over serious. At least I'm talking for myself.
Yeah.
And that I feel also that we're always on. And like technology is a big part of that.
So you healed yourself through your own family trauma.
Yeah.
Healing. I feel
Basically,
like we're always on this healing path, right? Always finding new ways to make
you
sense
know,
of our things, our little reasons of why we are the way we are.
yeah, I think healing is forever.
Discover Slow to V Distillery. Nestled in the heart of the Central Coast, we bring you small batch spirits made with passion, precision, and a touch of California sunshine. From our award-winning handcrafted gin, whiskey, and vodka, every sip tells a story. Whether you're stocking your home bar or looking for the perfect gift, Slow to V Distillery has you covered. Here in California, Slow to V honors their Portuguese heritage and traditions by crafting their own take on aguardiente, blending Portuguese authenticity with the spirit of the Central Coast. With aguardiente, the traditional Portuguese brandy, distilled from the finest grapes, aguardiente is more than just a drink. It's a celebration of heritage. Whether sipped neat, mixed into a cocktail, or paired with desserts, it brings a taste of Portugal to any occasion. So next time you raise a glass, make it a toast to Portugal and the vibrant culture it brings to California. Visit us at 200 South 4th Grover Beach to taste the difference for yourself or shop online at slowtov.com.
What I wanted to ask you was, when did you start feeling that you were kind of in touch with the other side, I guess is what you could say?
Yeah. I think from a really young age, like really young, like I wouldn't say that I'm a religious person. I wouldn't say I'm a religious person. When I was young, like when I would pray, I didn't want to hear a thing around me. I would be that kid in school who took it like dead serious, eyes closed, just peace. Like right away, I could feel this space in me that was quiet, filled with peace, and just connected. And I thought that was so beautiful. I know that I think a lot of kids have imaginary friends and all of those things. And so it's hard to say what that was all about. But I would believe that things were obvious signs. So when my grandfather passed on my mom's side, we're all at my vavo's house and the cupboard's closed. And in the cupboard, a glass breaks, right? Makes like this big sound. And I was like, oh, that's vavo. And like the whole table looked at me like I'm fucking nuts. And I'm like, hello, when has a glass ever broke in the cupboard when the cupboard's closed? Like when? Has anyone here ever? But, that was, a long time ago and they just didn't want to think that way. But for me, I was like, okay, right? It's an obvious thing. I think another part of it is being able
So
to
was your
really.
family very aware of this gift that could be passed down, or it's nothing that was spoken about?
No, no, no way.
Yeah, because
Not
that's part of the risk.
interested. Not interested in it, like diminishing, like scared of it, like absolutely no, don't want to talk about it. Didn't really have an audience to talk about it within my
Yeah, and you
family.
didn't understand it.
Outside of just thinking that like I'm nuts, like I'm playing with cards, like it's all bullshit, like none of it means anything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that. Oh, but then I had my own experiences with psychics where I just, would fall apart with the accuracy and the resonance. And then before I went away for school, for theater school, I bought a pack of tarot cards and I had a friend with me and I did my own reading for myself. And I was like, holy fuck. Because at that time I was consulting a book and at the bottom it was the tower reversed and it was like major change. Like that's what the book said. And I was like, holy fuck, they're like a move. And I was like, I am moving. Like it's just all of these things. Every single thing just felt so dead on. And so basically I had to give myself permission alone to continue following this thing, even when like people around me again thought that it meant nothing. Again, just like listening to my own curiosity and allowing myself to follow my curiosity. And that's how I feel that people get good at things because they allow themselves to be curious and then they continue to research and practice and research and play and research in this because they're in that realm of curiosity, which feels really fun. But even my own partner, we've been together for 12 years now. I think this is about 3 or 4 years into our relationship. He's not one way or the other about this stuff, but he's not, he just lets me do my thing. I used to pull a tarot card every fucking morning before getting out of bed because I want to know this tool inside and out, and see how it shows up in my day. So I'm in my bed and I pull a card and it is the Tower card. And I was like, well, what the fuck? Like, I haven't even left the bed. And for me at the time, that meant car accident. With time, I changed the meanings that I give these cards. But basically, the meaning that you give something is the meaning that it has. And that's how you read. So I'm like, car accident. I'm like, I haven't even left the bed. Right. And then I remembered, I was like, well, whoever's energy is really connected to me, I'll be able to pick that up. Because when I was in theater school, I had a boyfriend then, and they got hit by a car. And while I was in class, all of a sudden I went, and like my back kind of folded and the wind came out of me. And then I heard that they got hit by a car. So I was like, oh, I'm like, okay, so this energy could be connected to my partner. So then I pulled a couple more cards and it was like, it's not your fault, but you're getting blamed. And I was like, what the fuck? So I called him and I said, hey, he goes, hey. I said, did you get into a car accident? He goes, yeah, I have to let you go. I was just like, you're being blamed, but it's not your fault. He's like, no. He's like, I reversed and I hit a truck and the trailer wasn't hitched. The truck went down. I was like, okay. So I hung up. And then like later at the end of the day type of thing, he's just like, how the fuck did you know? I was like, well, I'll pull the tower. And then I pull this other card and I pull this other card. And he's just like, what the fuck? He was just kind of mind rattled. He's like, there's something to this.
Yes.
And I was like, yes, there is something to it, but it's only to the ability or to the extent that I believe and I practice and I put my own faith into it, right? It's not, I think it's possible for everyone, but if you don't play with it, try it out, go for it, hone it, it seems impossible.
So what do you say to like the non-believers? It's just like you're never gonna ever pick up on any of those energies. Like it's not, the tarot cards won't work for you. Like I'm just gonna get my cards read. I don't believe in any of this. Go. Like what's gonna happen to those non-open
For
people?
me, those are actually like the easiest people to switch because there's a lot of fear for them around what's going to happen. So basically, to people who don't believe but are curious, I would say only go to a reader that you've heard about, like through good word of mouth. Don't put yourself in the hands of just anybody because there are negative people out there. It really hurts me. I love being people's first reader because it really hurts me when people tell me that they've gone to a reader and the reader has been really black and white with them. And they've said, you know, that's not going to work for you or whatever. In my practice, in my belief system, what I'm picking up on is your own thoughts and what has been created based on your thoughts and your own beliefs. So if we can change your beliefs, shift your mind, then that opens up new possibilities. So I don't want to hear a no. I was really young. Let's see. I was in my early 20s and I was doing an in-person class at the Rock Store in Toronto, an in-person tarot class. And I was a fucking nerd. I was like up straight, like just eyes on the teacher who's been reading for decades, right? Eyes on her. People are like relaxed. They're on their phone. I'm just eating it all up. And we would read for each other every week. And she would read for us every week. And she would be sickening with how accurate she'd be with like what's going on in our life. And for a long time, I had this momentum of I was saving up. I was going to buy a house. I was going to figure out how to do that, blah, 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 at a young age. And I was bartending at the time and I was making really good money. And it was like unionized. And like my family was like, oh my God, you're in a unionized position. Like never give this up. Like I won this big award at work for being like the first in North America to finish this like bartending academy and all this shit. And then like 2 weeks later, I realized that if I continued and I bought a house, that I thought that I'd be completely stuck, that I wouldn't be able to go out there and explore and become an artist, that I'd have to continue to pay this mortgage and all of that pressure. I'm not sure that I'd be able to do that at that time. And so I decided to quit that job after the fucking cake and the diploma and the accolades and the money in my account and all that stuff. I decided to fucking quit. And I decided that in that time, I was going to write that one woman show that was about finding my strange Portuguese grandmother, right? And so I go back to this class the next week. And I haven't said a fucking word. And at the end, whatever, we're reading for each other. And the teacher, who's been doing this for decades and is very good, reads my cards. And she goes, there's like a whole new beginning here for you. I said, yeah. She said, it's not about a house anymore. I said, no. She's like, a lack of income coming in. I said, yeah. And she goes, and you're following your passion. I said, yeah. She goes, yeah, and you're at the very beginning stages now. I said, yeah. She's like, you have totally shifted direction.
Wow.
So I believe that a reading really just amplifies what you've been believing and shows that. And I think there needs to be conversation in a reading toward what you truly want for yourself and what shifts you can make to start believing that it's possible for you. And again, when I quit that job, nobody was happy for me,
Yeah.
right? I disappointed a lot of people, but I did not disappoint myself. And emotionally, I went through a lot just sitting around people who are disappointed in me everywhere
Yeah.
and just choosing myself, choosing what I know is right for me, choosing my career path, choosing the unknown, choosing to live very frugally, choosing all of that for me. But I think most importantly for other people, if you've got a reading that you did not enjoy, just know that like that was your energy at that time and you can shift your energy at any fucking time.
Yeah, I believe that. I believe like we are the ones responsible for like our happiness, our growth, success, any of that. I think that we are our own biggest block for sure. But it
Absolutely.
takes a little like filtering, like, okay, or this thing is in the way. This seems very heavy, very negative. I need to kind of shift this away. I feel like I've done a lot of that. And when you like make it over that hump, you feel so much weight off you that you didn't realize was weighing you down, and then you become light. So that's probably why you have so much lightness because you've done so much of that inner work.
And, loving my family to death. And, it just reminds me of like my tias being like, get an office job, get an office job. And just everybody wanting me to be a secretary and having my family be like,
Oh, God, for a
you're behind.
secretaria,
You're
you
behind.
made it.
Yeah. The dream fucking job for them. I feel like for so long, I didn't feel like I was seen for who I was, like at all. I just felt that I was seen like as a girl and then as a woman who was meant to be doing these things that didn't mean shit to me. And again, so really fighting. But first, I had to like see myself before other people could see me. So see myself and then believe in myself while other people didn't, so that I could get to this point where, oh, now everyone's come around and been like, wow, like we can tell like this is what you're meant to be doing. The same people who were so fucking scared for me and wanted me to choose a safe life that would have kept me so miserable.
It's tough. Are you now doing readings on the side? I don't want to say plan or goal because I feel like they change every day, right? I'm like a sunflower. The sun's going that way. I'm going to go that way too.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with so many ideas, with so much passion, with so much that like makes me feel great in terms of like work. It is hard to stay focused on one thing. So I do readings on the side. I've done like a ton of events. I've read for over thousands, like so many people. It's crazy. Most people who come to the show don't know that I'm actually doing like real readings. And then halfway through, they're kind of like, what the fuck? And then after they're like, do you? I'm like, I do.
So are you doing a reading on stage during that?
I am.
Oh, do you pick the people beforehand?
No,
Oh.
I don't. So I allow the audience to phone in. So they self volunteer and then I read for them on the spot.
That's the phone that you have.
That's the
That is
phone.
so
They call
cute.
in.
I love that. That is
Thank you.
such a cool touch.
Yeah, it's really fun. So I think that also like normalizes readings for a lot of people because they get to see it live. And I try to make them as funny as I can and sincere. So they're laughing, like, this is weird. This is not, that's hilarious. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, was that true? Right? So there's this whole thing where it's like trying to help the audience to feel safe with something new and something different.
So cool. I clearly want to go to a show and I want to phone in.
It's really fun. It's also a really beautiful and vulnerable place for that audience member to be when they phone in. When I've done it in Toronto, there's been like a spotlight that then turns into the phone booth and the audience member is there and the whole audience is holding space for this person. So I'm singing to them and then I get the audience to sing to them to support them. And they're up there and they're asking something real about their life, and it's about to be revealed in front of 90-person crowd. And so it's amazing the trust involved on both parts to do this show. And that's
What you
why
need.
immersive.
Yeah, it's a really, really unique show. That's why I said like no molds for Kayla. You've created your own lane, your own vision, and I'm so proud of you for that. I'm so happy that people get to hear this because we did feature you in the magazine in the past. And so I know some people are slowly getting to know you, especially from California in the Portuguese world. But I think it's just a fun way for people to kind of step out of like the traditional things and just open yourself up to something different because growing up, I had a grandma that was so Catholic, but she was also very spiritual. And
Absolutely.
she loved Buddha, she loved Gandhi, like
Oh,
she
I
had
love.
crystals, she had the what is it, bonsai trees with all the money trees that you see at like
Yeah.
nail salons and stuff. That she had all those setups and but then she also had her rosaries and count the rosaries and say with the rosary. So she was just all across the board, so many different things. And I don't think a lot of Portuguese grandmas are like that. They're just like Catholic and that's it.
Right.
So I think her mom, I think it was her mom or her mom's mom was like a healer in those days because you had to, right? You didn't really have the big bars and hospitals, so the oils and all of that stuff. Now, when we would bring oils to my mom, like, we'll put this on your belly or do this. My sister's really big into oils. And my mom, like, your grandma used to do this. They would use this. They would use the leaf from here so many different things. So I'm like, this isn't as far-fetched as a lot of Portuguese people think because if
Yeah.
you go back, like what do we put in the church? Frankincense. Like
Exactly. And I use frankincense in my own house
yeah,
to
and
protect my own energy. And
exactly. So, as like crazy as it may seem, or they're all full of it, like really go back and really do your research and see what all these like where would they go when they were sick to a healer, and it
yeah,
wasn't all of the big hoopla of the medical pharma, big pharma stuff, right?
I
So,
also believe that there's a lot of suppression of women, generally speaking, like in our lineage. I feel like a lot of Portuguese women are strong because they've had to be because of all of the suppression. And if they weren't tough, like how would they get through all of this? And so for those who are gifted or were gifted, like having to keep that quiet, I also think had I been born and raised, on the island in San Miguel, I don't know what I would be thinking or what I would have done with my intuition just based on you could be ostracized. And I love people and I've always wanted to be loved and to be liked. And, that desire was so strong for so long that I wasn't choosing myself until I was, like I shared. I think we have more options now to open our minds and to experience things. And also, I would love for people to be feeling
mhm,
joy,
mhm.
and, connected to religion, like, feeling that joy in the singing, joy in the connection that you do have. I feel like I'm not sure that there's a lot of space for women's joy in all of that. So just reclaiming that.
Do you think about like just generations and generations of women, like if they were to say anything about gut intuitions or anything, they would definitely be called crazy. So it's kind of sticking up for all the crazies, I guess.
Absolutely. And I do believe we are all a little bit crazy, and our masking is what's hurting us.
You know what's crazy? I want to touch on like a little bit of like manifesting and stuff. And again, for some people, people are like, You're done with this episode at this point, I'm sure." Have always like spoken out loud. And sometimes I'm like, am I crazy?
So many people do it. So many people do it. I was at my parents' for Mother's Day the other day, and I was in the kitchen cooking, and my dad was like, "Okay," and he's talking to himself out loud, and then he's like, "Sorry, I like talk to myself out loud." I'm like, "I do, you do, we all do it," and I think especially when I'm feeling unsteady, like I will literally talk to myself, like give myself a pep talk,
I, I
like
I'm being
to soothe
completely
myself.
like honest about this. I will talk out loud in the shower. Like that's when I'm one by myself, and then I just feel peace and calm and
Yes.
there's no outside noise. And there have been several times where I've asked the universe for things and it happens within the week. Like I legitimately and these thoughts come out of nowhere because I'm just minding my own business, taking a shower. And there's been a time where I legitimately asked, call him my angel Andrew. There are certain like angels that I feel like have helped me guide me through life and especially this phase of life. And I said, "Can I really miss music? Just bring music back to me." And this is everything I'm saying out loud. Bring music back to me in some way or form. I don't want to sing Fadluj, but I don't know if I want to be in a band. Just somehow bring it back to me. I really miss it. That week, I get a from the drummer of Zodiac to basically try it out to see if it's something that would be a good fit for us. And I was
Amazing.
okay, that is crazy. Just last week, I was in the shower. I had a thought about my friend Abel that passed away, and it was a reenacting of a scene of us dancing together. And it was us when we were a lot younger. We're hammered on the dance floor, and I'm telling him like, you don't have a pattern when you're dancing. I don't know when you're gonna like spin me or push me or like I and he's cracking up and he's just laughing and we're like dancing with the stars, but it's like no pattern. There's nothing, and we're just laughing and I'm almost gonna fall and he's a bigger guy. So like him spinning me around, like I'm gonna lose myself. So I'm like laughing at that memory, at us just like having the best time ever, but just it was such a good memory. And so I send a voice note to his brother and I say, "Hey, I don't know why this came, but I thought it was such a funny memory that I wanted to share it with you." He calls me right away and he tells me that the night before he had a reading, and the first thing that she told him was that he was dancing and partying like a complete party boy. And he was like, how you described it in this voice note was like how she was telling me he was first coming into this reading. And he never did it before. He just, he lost his brother. He wants to feel a little bit closer to him. And for me, I feel like because I am so open, it's not that I'm closest to Abel at all. I'm not the closest person to him. I feel close to him, but I am so open to this world that I feel
Yes,
like he chose me to confirm with his brother that that was real.
absolutely.
So whoever can think whatever, that is so crazy that all of those things have lined up for me. And I have even thought about times when I was little and I was sitting on the desk with my mom coloring or doing little kid things. The phone rings. She walks away to get the phone. I remember in my head thinking my grandma died.
See,
And that was the phone call that my grandma died.
wow.
And it's just like little things like that that I remember so many weird things that um if you're open to it, if you believe it. I'm not saying I'm a medium by any means. I just think that I'm open to signs. And, even with my second born, I named him after Andrew, Zachary Andrew, and his birthday, 6'11", I mean, he was 6 pounds, 11 ounces. That's my birthday. His birthday is July 13th and Andrew's birthday was July 31st. Like there's just so many like
Wow.
thank yous. Like it's just so many things that maybe I'm just,
No, I don't
wanting to believe it's true and maybe it just
know.
feels so good to believe it. But if it is just that, isn't it better than feeling bad? Isn't it
But
okay enough
but
to
I
just
don't
feel
think
good
it
about
is.
it?
I don't know. I don't think it is just that. I think again, it's like self-diminishing, and it's again another thing that I think more is more prevalent in women where it's like, I have to talk myself out of this because it's not the norm right now.
Mhm.
Um, but I'm telling you, more and more it is becoming the norm. It's things are shifting and changing. When I first had an Instagram profile like 15 years ago for tarot, I was like uplifting tarot, and then everything else looked like real old school, witchy, kind of scary. I was like, oh my, even I was doing it. And I was like, I'm freaked out by these other profiles. Now there's like thousands, I don't know, maybe millions, I
Oh
don't
my
know,
god.
of like people and readers out there. And so it's becoming the norm. And you mentioned like that phone call and all those things. I believe that everything is energy.
Yeah.
And like you and I right now, we're connecting. I'm in Toronto, you're in California. So like it's energy. I mean, it'd be the same if we were in the same room. We're just sharing energy.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think you're open to picking up energy and staying
Yeah.
connected, like you said. You
Yeah.
love to be connected.
Yeah, and sometimes I feel overly connected where I can't handle it. It's too much for me. It starts scaring me. But with I think that you do a lot of work in it, so you know how to manage the anxiety feeling versus, like sometimes it feels like a panic attack, an anxiety attack, but really you're just so open, you're just too open, and I'm like, world, I'm not ready right now. This is who Kayla wants to be, not me.
Yeah. Well, you can tell them that, but it's there. I think also like having somebody or even like a group that you could connect with so that you don't feel alone or crazy.
Yeah.
But that kind of reminds me about being scared. I've got one more just short story. During COVID, I was doing a workout in front of the television on YouTube or whatever, and I've got these two fucking 5-pounders in my hands. I'm doing whatever bicep curls, hating it, but being like, I gotta move my body during this shit. And all of a sudden, I see, like out of the corner of my eye, an acquaintance's father, like smiling, like just his face. And he's got this fucking mustache, so I'll never forget, just his fucking face. And right away, I'm like, no, like absolutely not. And the fear was my ego. It wasn't even that I was afraid of his face or any of that. It was like, I don't know. This is before I was like studying mediumship. Like, I don't know what the fuck to do with this. I don't know how to relate that I see your face. Like, so then I'm like, no, absolutely not. I don't even know if it was 2 minutes later, see his fucking face again, right? I'm like, for fuck's sakes, I'm like, okay, I will reach out to your daughter, but you better show up for me.
Yeah.
And the fear sometimes isn't that we're afraid of them. It's just like, what do we do with this? Like, am I going to be labeled crazy? Am I going to get on a call with his daughter and just completely fall flat, have nothing to share, and just be like, yeah, I just saw your dad's face twice, like, in my family room. It's like, okay, and right? And
Yeah.
I'm like, and that's it. So you're taking that risk. So that it does feel like there's a lot of risk involved along the way. But again, like just being in that unknown, that's where all the reward is too.
Yeah.
If you're not trying, you can't progress in any way.
What is some advice for someone that is starting to pursue or starting to notice that they feel a little bit enlightened in this way? What is some advice like in the beginning stages of this or validation or anything you could give?
Yeah. Um, I would say that your gifts are going to look different from anybody else's. So remember that and then join a group.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Remember that. Everyone in the group is going to have different ways that they communicate, but join a group, gain some support, and make sure that these people are vetted. You don't want people with like ego or people who are diminishing, teaching you.
Mhm.
I had a mentor once. They didn't know what the fuck I did for work, which was good enough for them. But they're really good. They were a really amazing medium, but I find them to be very condescending. So I was like, I'm not going to work with you anymore. But they would bring in like test people for me to read for. I'm paying them for this mentorship so I can grow. And so they're in the room and they bring somebody on Zoom and I give them this reading and whatever. And, okay. And then after they're like, tell me, what does she do for work? So I close my eyes or whatever. And then I sense in and I'm like, whatever your mother did for work, you do like whatever that is, but just below it because you don't want to surpass your mother in any way. And she goes, my mom was a teacher. And when I was born, she retired from teaching. And she was like resentful about having kids because she loved being a teacher. But I don't know why they couldn't do both or whatever. So I'm a teacher's assistant. And I was like, okay. And I was like, it is safe for you to,
Wow, to pursue.
decide to shift or do whatever, whatever. And he was like, yeah, that's not like specific enough. And I said, I think it is because my goal is healing. My goal isn't, hey, are you a teacher's assistant? I fucking knew that. It was, hey, you're keeping yourself at this place because you have guilt that your mom wasn't able to progress in their career and you feel personally responsible. I want you to know that you can progress. And that's your mom's own path in her life. And she projected her bitterness onto her kids. But that doesn't mean that you have to live that out now.
Yeah.
It does not mean that. So, especially from a mentor who didn't know exactly what I did for work, I was like, fuck this. So you need to be able to be in a space and scope out the space. Is it safe? Am I being well supported? And know when the fuck to leave, even if somebody is so great at what they're doing. And I've recognized that as well from my career in the arts.
Yeah.
When abuse used to be at an all-time fucking high and you just take it, right? And now I'm like, damn, like, we made our own short film last year and it got into the Canadian Screen Awards and like, and all this shit. And I was like, this was so easy and the vibes were so good on set. And everybody had a great time and we were joking around and there was no toxicity. And it was like, yeah, we did this and we won like a couple awards with this. And you can choose. You don't have to choose based on whose reputation you want to follow or who's good at what they do, because in the arts, there's so many fucking people who are good at what they do and good people.
Yep.
So find those good people that help you to feel safe so that you don't have to do the fucking healing work alongside your learning.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like that extra healing work of that extra layer of this fucking asshole who wants to feel like they are better than you indefinitely.
Exactly. So where can we see you? Where are you going to be? Where are you open to people messaging you?
Yeah, of
Booking
course.
readings with
I think
you?
I'm just laughing now because we're like, Kayla, you're so light, you're this and that. I'm like, let me tell you something. Just like go on 5 rants.
No. I think you could be two things could be true.
For sure.
Yeah. You could be a light, but you could also have boundaries.
For sure.
And I think that's when things get uncomfortable is like people always have such this uncomfortable, they sit so uncomfortably with boundaries because
Right.
no one had them for so long. I mean, the world has.
Right. And it was disrespectful. It was seen as all this other bullshit, just a way for people to trample all over you, especially
And I
as
think
a
when
woman.
women have boundaries, we're automatically a bitch. So.
Right. Right.
So navigating through that and also being a light, but you can come off as bitchy, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. So people can find me on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok. My name is Kayla Subica, S-U-B as in Bob, I-C-A. It was a nickname, my grandfather's nickname. So it's an extremely rare last name.
Yeah.
Like, they called him Subica. So he came over here and he made his last name Subica.
Wow.
It's actually a Ruta Pereira, but I don't have any documentation of that. It's just I'm Kayla Subica.
Somebody, the troops, come on in. We need to know.
Exactly. From there, you'll be able to find different ways to like reach out to me. I know that Instagram is funny sometimes. Like I might not get DMs from people I don't follow. So if you just comment even on one of my posts saying I messaged you, then I can go and follow you back and find your message.
I want to thank you for coming on the podcast. This is a long time coming. I'd love to do something else, or maybe we could do like a live reading or something. That would be really fun. We will figure something out to do.
I'd also love to talk about you. I'd love to hold space too.
You always,
I do.
You always do this to me.
Yes, because I am so proud of you.
Thank you.
And I'm just so happy that you're singing. When we first connected, you weren't.
Yeah.
And you went through a lot of that old like deconditioning.
Yeah.
And I'm just so proud of you. I'm such a fan. You have an amazing voice. So I'm so grateful.
You're gonna make me cry.
Good. Yeah. Cry.
A lot of voice notes have gone back and forth with me and Kayla.
Yeah. So I'm so grateful that you like held all this space for me to shine today. And I want to do the same for you.
Thank you. We'll do that for each other forever.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Well, I can't wait to link all the things and get people to start following Kayla and seeing her magic shows. I really want to go to both of those shows. So I want to go to Canada too. So when we link up, we'll have to plan it around when you're going to have one of these 22 shows. You are just building such a little empire of for yourself. And I'm proud of you for following your passion, because it is so hard for the outside people to understand, people that want to follow the arts. So I'm happy that we can build more of a support system system for you, Kayla. And thank you again for being part of the collective and always being a good friend to me.
You've touched my heart. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sylvia.
All right, we'll talk soon.
Okay, sounds great. Mwah.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.